Because I had zero interest in it, like I said, for so long. And I had a dream interview at the beginning of our relaunch when Gary joined. And it was Ellie Neidhart. She's...
Sounds really familiar.
I bet it does. It's Jim the Anvil Neidhart's wife. It is... Yeah, dude, it's Natalia's mom.
Wow.
It's Brett's sister.
I just saw Natalia yesterday.
Dude, we know her. She's right around the corner.
That's amazing.
We work out at the same place. She's super nice. That family is so amazing. But before we get started, This is Joseph Grable. He's a filmmaker, actor, and podcast host in L.A. And is known for Searching for Happiness podcast, which I really like. I love the breadth of content that's on there. So many different topics, which is near and dear to my heart because that's what we try to do here. But more so, Joseph is an advocate for not just a specific condition, but he does understand what it's like to live on what other people would consider the precipice of danger, with having 10 heart surgeries and faced with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Yes.
I'm super stoked to meet you. I want to continue this for a moment, though. Wrestling and Ellie Neidhart, Natalia, that whole family, amazing people. Like, you could not imagine, like, the kindness that you feel when you get around them. And Ellie was telling us stories about, like, oh, yeah, I would sit on Andre the Giant's lap or some shit like that. And I'm like, the Iron Sheik slept on the couch. And I'm like, oh, like, just sitting there, like geeking out, right? And I thanked her, I wanted to thank her because back then this dude was traveling on a bus all over God's creation, talking to her from fucking motels on pay phones. Like, that's hundreds and hundreds of dollars in fucking quarters.
Yeah.
Right? Or collect calls back then. Thousands of dollars just to talk to his family, keeping in mind that he's out there entertaining us for like in 275 days a year or some shit, right?
It's so crazy how much even now, it's even way more intensive. Like, the workload is even way more intensive. I always tell people, I was explaining this with my wife, because she views them as, fake and stuff like that. I was like, that's not the purpose of it. They're acrobatists. I was like, they are people that are there to create a certain type of art, to entertain people who enjoy that type of art. You know what I mean? And then when I told her in that form, she was like, oh, like a light bulb went off in her head. She's like, oh, like, that's actually really awesome.
If you combine a Spanish soap opera or a soap opera from here and anime, you get wrestling. Everybody jumps around with fucking drama. Dude, everywhere. It's like, like you would have each and everybody's got a storyline, everybody's invested, everybody's career is in it. You go to anime, everybody's got some kind of lineage. They've come from some kind of struggle. They're the next. The villains are dude, it is those two things. Anime and soap operas equals wrestling. Even the high flying and shit.
Yeah, no, I've been really invested in it this last year because, growing up, I could never afford to go to a live event, or I could never afford to, like, really even watch it, to be honest. Like, I just wasn't, like, I was just in the hospital in and out so much, or, like, my brother was dealing with his cancer stuff, or whatever the issue might have been. I had never been able to ever see these things in person before. Never, like, a basketball game, never a baseball game. And so, like, the last 2 years, I've just been on a binge of, like, going to all these live events. And WrestleMania was coming. I was like, I dropped a lot of money on the tickets, too. I was like,
so what?
If I'm ever going to do... Yeah, exactly.
I was like, if I'm ever going to do... with a high score. Fuck money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just fucking do it. If you're doing what you love, money will come afterwards.
Oh, I explained that to my wife because I dropped the money on the tickets, and I was like, babe, I'm gonna make this money back in like 2 weeks. So not even that, like, not even that amount of time, like. And I was explaining to her, I was like, you gotta understand, like, when you don't, like, when you have these dreams as a child, and then you get the opportunity to take them, and you have the money to take them, you should take them no matter what. And she kind of was looking at me like, well, even if we're tight on money, I was like, especially when we're tight on money, because that's when these things always happen the most, is when you're tight on money. I was like, so, you just got to live it up. And like, I really just wanted to see WrestleMania in person. So I was like, oh, so we're going to do this weekend.
That is perfect. It is the way that you should live life, right? Because if you're not embracing the moment, then you're giving away the only time that's real, right?
I agree.
You don't know what anything else is except for what's happening right fucking now, and you've got to embrace those moments. And I love that you pointed out when you deny yourself, or are denied, not deny yourself, but are denied the ability to enjoy what you see other people enjoy due to whether it's a medical situation or socioeconomic or racial divide, whatever it is, something that you want to partake in that you can't, and you're revisiting it in your adult life, right? So I believe that that's also, how career paths and reinventions work. You always come back to being a kid, right? I believe that that's just how it works, or you just ride the rock and it's not your turn kind of scenario, right? But I believe that giving our inner child, a chance to have and experience the things that we thought or were told they weren't supposed to have for whatever reason is liberating. Because you're re-identifying with the most pure form of yourself. You can be an adult and be a child. Go fucking high five Jack Black. That motherfucker's successful and acts like a Looney Tune. He plays a fucking plastic toy saxophone and gets 1 million views.
I ran into him at like a 7-Eleven.
Did you cry and like hug him and thank him?
Almost.
Like I
Almost.
would.
It was during COVID. It was during COVID, so like I wasn't allowed to really hug him.
I would love to see somebody hugging Jack Black during a fucking pandemic. That's a short, dude. You need to call him up and you should say what really happened versus what could have happened. He'd probably be all over. You could be like how they do like Instagram. They're like, they show like the fucking beach house and then they pan over and it's like fucking a slum or some shit like that. You could be like, how we really met during the pandemic.
That's how LA streets are, though. That's how LA streets are. Like, dude, it's Florida too. Oh my! So I live off of Wilcox and Sunset, and that's like right next to the Hollywood police station. I mean, literally like next to it, like right on the corner. And that is the worst area I've learned to live. That is the absolute worst area to live.
You're saying, what'd you say, Hollywood and Sunset? Imagine.
Hollywood and Sunset,
Imagine if we went back to like the days of the Viper Room and somebody was telling someone there inside the Viper Room that, Sunset and Hollywood is going to be homeless Grand Central like you've never seen. They'd be like, what are you fucking talking about? Not Hollywood and Sunset. It's
crazy, dude. I know. It's so wild, dude. You'll be like, you'll literally just be like standing at the famous Hollywood and La Brea or Hollywood and Vine intersections, and just be like a homeless dude smoking rocks next to you, and you're just like,
that's brutal.
I was like, there's a kid right here. Like, okay. Like,
look, man, we just had Egos. Can you not huff on the past pipe? I need you to take a break for just a minute. Me and Johnny are going to get to daycare. Just hold on to a puff.
Right? Well, it's so bad, too. You'll go into these... It's so horrible to say it, but I feel like LA kind of influences it more because you go into like these smoke shops or these vape shops and they sell the crack pipes. Like, they sell the crack pipes there.
We have woven a tapestry of ridiculous restrictions and weirdness that we move through to justify or not justify or be able to obtain or not be able to obtain loopholes and weird shit. But in reality, we're talking about holding a glass pipe, right? And it can't be sold, but not the crack. And the crack can be legal in Washington now, but not over here. And nobody that's on drugs, and if you've committed a crime, you are no longer a mental health patient. Now you are a penal patient. Doesn't matter. Your mental health is not a factor anymore. It is not the reason you were on drugs. You are now on drugs because you're a piece 100%. Of shit. What the fuck? Right, we just weave this weird ass scenario where you get off, you go to jail, you get this, you get a vacation in New Mexico in a fucking yurt, and you go to fucking LA County Jail, right? This is how it's fucking, this is how it's done. We just said, I'm fresh off of a talk with a civil rights attorney in New Mexico. We had our last episode about like the medical conditions in a prison, stuff like that. It was unbelievable. Wow. Before we get too far off though, I want to veer back. Yeah. And I want to stop on the 100%. Topic of creators, because we were in that wrestling genre, and I don't think that people utilize the correct terminology when they're describing wrestling, like you said earlier. You have to use metaphors and analogies to get the right people to understand it if you didn't grow up with it or love it for what it is, right? But at its core, 100%. It's a creator. It's somebody that's putting something together out of pure joy and love. There's a reason why people flock to wrestling, right? It's not because it's fucking well organized or it's scripted correctly or everything's running smoothly, because it's not. We've all seen her eat shit, fall on their face, do something wrong. You know, there's real injuries and all sorts of shit going on. Oh, yeah. Right? They're jumping 20 feet in the air. Like, bad acting. Like, the worst of the worst of the worst of acting, right? Yet we all sit there and stare. Here's why. Yeah. Everybody up there, the ones that we love, legends are the ones that we love, and legends are people that are being themselves. The ones that are up there and they're acting in the moment exactly how they feel, having a blast, getting up excited to go to work. That's also musicians. That's also fucking actuaries. It doesn't matter who it is. It can be any career, but we will flock to them and watch them because everything is created out of love and authenticity, right? So you yourself have gone through trials and tribulations like no other, right? But also they're all about perspective, right? Everybody's lenses are different. But you seem to have landed in a world where you're an actor, a creator, a podcaster. How did being or becoming a creator help you navigate these trials and tribulations?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question, man. You know, I think at a really young age, I decided I wanted to be a creator. I always, I grew up in hospitals, like you said, I had a bunch of heart surgery. So like a lot of that obviously took a lot of, repair time, I guess you could say. It took a lot of time to repair my body. And so
recovery, you had to lay there and get better.
Yeah, recovery. There we go. Yeah, 100% recovery. And so all I ever could do is like, I literally like half the time I remember I was so little, but like, I remember there's so many times I just couldn't move my body because like my whole chest was like literally opened up. And so all I could do is like tilt my head up and watch movies for like a good amount. Every time I went in for surgery pretty much. And then like after I would leave from surgery and I'd have that recovery time, that's all I would do at home too. Is just watch movies. And so like I knew at a very early age, I think I watched Big Daddy with Adam Sandler.
Great movie.
And
live nudes.
I was like
live nudes.
Yeah.
And I wipe my own ass.
I was like
the best line every time. I wipe my own ass. Like he says it like over and over. They taking him away. But I wipe my own ass.
I've always, still to this day, I want to do the stick and the rollerblade thing.
Oh, dude. It's something about a spinning wheel with spokes, or, you know, something that has the ability to fall immediately. We all want to test that. We just want to,
oh, dude.
Like, I almost said something horrible. Like, I have a dark sense of humor, and one of my friends, he has cerebral palsy, and it's not the one that's probably listening right now. It's a different one. And he always, you know, we have these dark jokes back and forth. And I remember I sent him a meme once, and it kind of applies to this. And it was somebody being held in a corner in a wheelchair by a broom through the spokes in the back of their tires.
Fucking funny.
It was like time out for, you know, somebody. I was like, oh my God, dude. Like, this is horrible, but it was fucking funny. I'm like, you know, you can't move.
Hey, man, you gotta have dark humor in these days, man. I have so much dark humor. It's so bad. It's so bad how much dark humor I have. But I mean, like, it's just all stuff I've been through too. I'll make jokes and people just be like, I was like, you know, when you live through certain things, it's funny. I guess it's not really funny to some people, but I know what you mean, dude. It's just like,
that's
I can't
funny.
believe that.
I don't care who you are. That's funny, right? Like, I mean, unless 100%. You were like cornered in some kind of situation and a serial killer had you like tied up in the corner in a wheelchair with a fucking, so, you know, it doesn't apply to you.
Which is like, way less than a 1% chance. So.
Way less. More likely that's on a porn than 100%. Anything else. But seriously, so you find yourself in a hospital bed, and a very, very brief scenario where I spent some time in a hospital bed for like 3 or 4 weeks, and nowhere near what you could have gone through. But I do understand when you're sitting there and you can't move, you have to just use your imagination or play out scenarios in your head or take on what's on the TV and give yourself entertainment. What if I was this person? What if I was that person? I would argue if you've been living in a manner where you want to get as much out of life while you can, you know, given any kind of scenario, I think that you picked the absolute best career path for someone to enjoy the human experience at a maximized pace, right? Because
I never thought about it like that.
Here's the thing. There's actors and then there's actors. I was talking to my wife about this just yesterday. I said, there's a difference. There's someone that is acting and there's someone that's trying to convince you. Two different people. I hate convincers. If you're doing so much in front of me, you want me to believe you're that, I'm not going to accept it. It's going to look weird to me. But if you believe you're that, if you're the actor that is method acting or believing you're homeless or believing you're a killer or believing you're, you know, a romantic interest or whatever it is, then you are living the human experience. What people don't get is that actors chose a career with all the masks. You chose one with one mask and you tied yourself to it. It's fucking corporate Johnny or cubicle Johnny or gas station, you know, Amanda or whoever. That's your mask that you chose, and you're pissed because, you know what's funny is we'll donate all of our fucking free time, the little bit that we have, that mindful moment outside of working that one role. We'll look at you on the screen for that hour. We'll stare at you, right? And be envious of the fact that you can be anything you want to be every other fucking episode of something. How weird is that?
It's really weird.
We know we're socially conditioned. Right? We know we are, but we are afraid to admit it. So we are enamored with those in front of us that are authentic or pursuing things that we love to watch. Yet we're not taking it for what it is. Instead of being envious, we should be grateful that they have found their calling. That there's someone that is willing to love themselves enough to stand up in front of everybody to do the things they're most inclined to do, which will not be the societal norms, which will not be one mask. It'll be many, or it'll be none. And none is the best. Right? And
100%.
I think that that's amazing that you found that career path. I just want to point that out because I hate when people say actors don't have an opinion. Like, when the fuck did you ever sit down and pretend to be a homeless man for a fucking month, you empathy fucking idiot?
Yeah. When do you ever sit down with an actual actor? You know what I mean?
Like, oh, yeah, that too. But
that's my thing.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Problem is, media portrays actors, actresses, or people in, some kind of famous role as idiots, or everything is hyper-examined, magnified, and only the things that are bad, only the things that would be construed as some bullshit. But at the same time, they're fucking humans. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Beyonce gets diarrhea, dude.
I tell people this all the time.
Tell me.
I see celebrities at parties all the time, and I tell my friends all the time, you do not realize how incredibly normal it is to just walk past a celebrity here, and then you won't even realize it's them. You won't even realize it's them because they're just so normal. They're probably shorter than you would think they are. They're not as bulky
Shorter
as you think
is always the surprising one. Shorter can be astonishing because camera work.
Yeah, the one that blew me away, I didn't meet him personally, but I was in the same room as him, was Robert Downey Jr.
No.
And he's Iron Man, man, and that dude's like 5'8". I'm taller than Robert Downey Jr. I was like, yo, like, I'm taller than Iron Man.
I love Robert Downey Jr. I think he is a fucking hero to the human experience for all the shit that he's done.
Amazing, man.
But it is funny to think that Iron Man is the size of Tin Man. Like, it's fucking...
It's crazy. Dude, Tom Cruise is even shorter, man.
Oh, yeah, dude. He's trial size.
Yeah,
like that, dude.
Yeah, no, dude. No, dude.
We're like,
that's
just
the thing.
banging
it's
on
like
celebrities now. Gary's going to be so upset. Oh, by the way, for everybody listening, I'm really bad at hosting shit. Like, I could talk to people, but I don't fucking keep up on anything of the stuff we're supposed to talk about. For those of you tuning in, Gary is in Milwaukee for Jorge Masvidal's upcoming boxing tournament with some of the biggest headliners out there. Gary's been doing phenomenal film work with them. You got Vitor Belfort, you've got Jose Aldo, Anthony Pettis, Roy Jones Jr., fucking Jeremy Stevens. It's insane. Pearl Gonzalez. Like, the fights are insane. But he's been doing amazing work there. So he's not on the show periodically. He comes on when he can. We're working on some stuff on the side. We're still putting together the second show. I think we've discussed this a couple of times. We're not too far out. That's Shell Toes and Elbows. That's going to be all about the intersection of hip-hop music and professional fighting, walkouts, all that kind of stuff. We're going to have fighters on, artists on. We're going to discuss, what gives them their passion, where they derive their inspiration from. I love hearing, this is Gary's show. This is Gary's dream. This is something he's wanted to put together. I get to sit in the fucking side chair and just wise ass because I'm not a fighter. One of these guys are probably going to fucking crack me in the mouth. I told Gary, I'm going to get hit at some point by one of these dudes because they're not going to know I'm joking about something. But, right, so that show is being put together right now. We've got an A-list of fucking the combat sports who's who coming on. So Gary's out there working on that. He's putting some content together. And we appreciate you listening and asking where he is. That makes me happy because I know that he's a great contribution to the show. And to know that he's missed, it means that he's contributing. So I appreciate you, Gary. Let's get back into business.
Yes,
Tell me
sir.
something.
Where shall we start? Tell you something? Oh, man. Let's see here.
Don't you love being put on the spot like that? I didn't even give you a question.
I know.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we give your passion a chance to be discussed, and that is searching for happiness, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me
100%.
about this show, your guests, what you're trying to achieve.
Yes, thank you so much for asking. So yeah, I have my own podcast called Searching for Happiness. It's also a mental health podcast, much like this one. And kind of, my passion for it started about, I'd say 2 years ago, really. That's when I first thought of the idea of doing podcasts. And that's when like they were booming, you know what I mean? So like everyone was already doing it. So I was like, I don't know if I should. And it was just like this thing where I don't know if I was just like in the shower or if I was somewhere at a party. I just don't remember. It was either those two spots though, where I just thought, I was like, yo, like, what if I started talking about like my struggles in my life? And then like I brought my friends on and I brought all these other people I meet throughout Hollywood parties and this and that. And I was like, oh, that would be really cool. But then I sat on it for 6 months because I couldn't think of a name. I was like, yo, what's searching for happiness, searching for happiness. I'm trying to figure out what that, you know, I was trying to figure out that name for so long. I was trying to figure out a name that could kind of sum up everything at once, if that makes sense. Like, because there's so many different topics in mental health. There's so many to cover, like from sport.
Yeah, you don't want to get pegged as the bipolar podcast or the, you know, the narcolepsy podcast or the, I don't know what. You don't want to get, this is something that we run into with the Tragedy Academy because we get both dynamics. We get people that want to discuss open topics about like mental health or, you know, situations that they've been through with their families and other stuff like that. And then we get people that send us, like, they believe that all we want to talk about is like the worst things that have happened in humanity. And I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes. Can't necessarily sit here and talk about this every day because I'll want to hang myself. Like, I can't do that.
There's some episodes, I have some episodes I haven't aired because like I have a really hard time being a dick, kind of. Like I just have a hard time being a dick. So like I don't tell a lot of people no. I mean, I do now, but like, well, when I first started doing my podcast, I had a big trouble not saying no. And so I'd get a lot of, I don't want to say narcissistic people on there, but I got a lot of people on there. Yeah, I got a lot of people on there that have been through things, you know, like, and
manifest
then it's
your life.
The script, exactly. Like, it's just like the same old, like, they came from like a middle class family, really didn't struggle at all, and then like they're like trying to be woke, and I'm like, that's not what you told me. So like sometimes people are completely different on episodes, but like my whole like thing about it is like I want to be like the next not like the next 10, because I want to be my own entity, my own person, but like the next Jay Shetty or the next I don't know. I even saw John Berthal. He's kind of mixing it up in the mental health world lately with real ones too. And yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. But that's my goal, is to have that like level of just like
be Joseph Grable,
influence
man.
on people, though. You
You're
know what I mean?
You're a cool dude.
I appreciate it.
You're a cool dude. You're not. Just be Joseph Grable, because here's the deal, man. If you try to be anybody else, you're fucking with the recipe. You're already cooked. Why the fuck are you adding other ingredients? Right? Leave that shit alone.
I appreciate it.
Your meal is done. Savor that bitch. Share it with everybody. We know, right? Be Joseph fucking Grable and be fucking cool to everybody like you are. Because when I was listening through your episodes, what I loved was not just the deep talk, but the juxtaposition of how people examine the human experience, i.e. stereotypes was one of the things I came across. You guys were talking about like Hollywood stereotypes. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And then I kind of want to piggyback on that because it's something that popped up in my mind when I was listening to it.
Like, you know, like
in Hollywood,
everyone just thinks you're rich.
Can you explain what it is that the stereotypes that you were discussing?
To me. Everyone just thinks you're rich, even though you could be struggling crazy. And like, you know, there's stereotypes like, you know, like this is a big one. I'm a white boy, right? So I automatically have zero diversity, like zero, like, you know what I mean? So zero, yeah. But it's very yeah. Oh yeah. I'm totally okay with it, but I'm saying it's like that is a huge stereotype,
and you have to be okay with that. You know that, right? You have to be okay with that.
I always saw this like
I came from the wrong house in this
like,
fucking.
you know who Theo Von is, right?
In this Game of Thrones. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I saw this one episode where he was like, "Yo, people always be talking about white privilege." And he was like, I missed out on that shit.
Dude,
he's like something like that. Like I was like, because he grew up super poor, and I was like, oh, like I was like, I like, yeah, like legit.
Whoa.
And
I was,
dude, damn.
Yes, my people. Dude, we didn't have a refrigerator for a long time in a fucking cooler. Our front door was boarded shut. Yeah. The windows were fucking taped up. I had a fucking skunk that lived in my wall for like a fucking month that was coming in at night. It was so awful, dude. We lived in a fucking shack. And then I live in a nice home now. I worked in many careers. I got multiple college degrees. I played the game. I fucking, fuck that. I left it all to do podcasting because that was a fucking racket too, right? But I love when people will walk up to you, say now, and you don't get any of the struggle before that. Like, I remember I was at Home Depot once, and the worker there, it's suburbia, and I'm suburbia white guy coming in, and I'm asking another grown man, which for some reason, this is an odd dynamic. If you ask another grown man a technical question, you're immediately subservient to them, or you're some kind of rung lower, right? In the man code, if you walk up and you're like, hey, and this was the question. I'd never had can lights in my fucking life, right? I had like one lamp that shocked the fuck out of me growing up, and that's it. And then some army furniture, right? So I go in and I'm like, all right, look, man, I managed to get one of these lights out of the fucking ceiling because we've got like, 12-foot ceilings or whatever. And I'm holding this bulb. It don't look like no fucking light bulb I ever had in my life. Yeah. Right? It's a can light bulb. I'm looking at this thing, and it is not, one of these things is not like the other. I think that man, you could probably do a socioeconomic divide test by asking people what the difference between those two light bulbs are. That's 100%. Like, who's poor and who's not? Pick a light bulb. Which one is real? Right? But this dude looked at me, because I went up to him and asked him, I was like, hey man, I just asked him a couple questions, and I'm like, how can I find, these, or what type should I use? Like, because there's so many light bulbs now. It's like, fuck, dude. Right? So I asked the guy, and he's like, you guys never know how to take care of your houses.
That's the film business for you.
I was like, hold on, man. Like, shots fired. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? I was like, first of all, I broke it down for him, and I'm like, dude, I used to walk down a dirt road with a $1 food stamp to buy my mom a Snickers bar so I could get 10 cents out of it to buy some fucking lemon heads, try not to get hit by a semi. Fuck off with a fucking can
My biggest
light.
thing I've noticed in LA is people try to have competitions with my tragedies, bro. I'm like
literally.
Like, they're trying to... Yes. They're like trying to like, I'm like, yo, like, this is not a win for any of us right now. I was
trauma shaming.
What are you arguing with me about? This isn't a win for any of us, bro. Like, I don't understand why you're trying to outdo me. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so weird. And like, I don't want to discredit people, but Hollywood has
the struggle has become a badge of honor.
I don't want to discredit anybody, but Hollywood has this
No. It's not Hollywood. This is the world. You're describing the world. The victimhood badge of honor. If you can't make it, you either suffer and hide, or you sit in the equivalent chair.
I tell people all the time.
That is the victim. All the reasons you're not next to them. That is now your badge, right? Well, I could have, I should have, I would have, I had have, hadn't it not, whatever the fuck it is, and you'll become that person. And you'll say, when people come to visit you, I used to do this, or I could have done that, or this one time fucking, it's so easy to say that. It's so easy to be a victim because it requires no action. Even if you have the fucking stripes, you could have 10 heart surgeries. You could have a crazy ass narcissist mom, or a fucking, a wild ass fucking bully. Whatever it is, those are your fucking stripes, man.
And like everything that like. So for instance, like when I learned from my heart surgeries, it's like you can go through all this pain, you can go through all these things, and at the end of the day, the sun's like still not gonna stop for nobody. You know what I mean? And it's not gonna. It's just not, unless you really truly get up yourself and you do things yourself, nothing's ever gonna get done. Like it truly is. And I used to sit there. I will 100% admit, I used to sit there and think the world owed me something because like of all the things I had been through, but like reality was it didn't, and nothing really started working until I put the work in. You know what I mean? And like I really learned from those struggles and that all the surgeries is like you can go through everything. You can go through war, you can go through surgeries, you can go through an insanely bad breakup or even worse situations, but the only person that can pick you up is you. You know what I mean? The only person that can get you out of bed is you. You're the only person that can make you motivated is you. Like I've spent my whole life hearing people be like, you're so amazing and great and fantastic, but none of that, like, it feels good and it's great to hear those things, but none of that has truly motivated me. What's motivated me is my own personal struggles and my own personal thoughts. You know what I mean? And so I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that either. It's like you can't even rely on people anymore either. And it's never even been that way in general. You know what I mean? It's never been like, I don't know if it's maybe just a younger generation. Like I remember as a teenager, like if you didn't give a certain amount of attention or blah, 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 it was like a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, and now it's just like, yo, like out for yourself, put in the work, and like everything you want will come eventually. It's like my mindset with the podcast for Searching for Happiness is like, I might not know what I'm doing now. I mean, this is what I was thinking when I first started. I might not know what I'm doing now, but like in 5 years, this could be like something really big, if I just consistently do it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You beat 99% of the podcasts just by going probably past 6 months, right? And here's the thing, you're creating from a place of love and passion. So what you're describing here, you use words like motivation, work, and things like that. Motivation, we had a guest on that gave the best analogy about this.
That's a great way to put it.
And he said motivation was emotional masturbation. And I was like, for fuck's sake, that's amazing. Because if we require it because you're only going to have it for a short amount of time and you're using it to spur you to do something you don't feel like doing. Right? So here's the reality. If you love what you're doing and you're getting up every day and doing that, I know that people are like, oh, if you love what you do, then, they're like, oh, you get, you'll make it. But it's not a lie. But the thing is
WrestleMania all over again. Not wasting now.
Right? It's not wasting the now. Right? Because you can't utilize the future or the past. You can't utilize those. But if you stay in place and you simply move and work and move and work, hopefully it's something you love, it will only grow. Right? Unless you don't love it, or unless it's somebody else's dream, somebody else's passion. Nobody wants to show up every day.
Like, Joseph, I remember I literally just went back home to Oregon
not for so
2
long.
weeks ago. I was just in there 2 weeks ago, and I had a lot of my friends be like, oh, like, how have you not, like, how are you doing all these things? I was like, dude, it's just what I want to do. And if you're not going to put in the work, it's never going to happen. It's never like, because they'll be like, oh, well, I want to do this and this. I'm like, well, what are you doing about it to do it? They're like, well, I'm like looking into school. I'm like, you're doing nothing about it, bro.
Right?
That's what you're doing. You're doing nothing about it. And you're complaining to me because I did something about my situation. And like, Oh, I was just saying, I was like, because it was a situation where they were trying to like weird, you know how, like people guilt trip you for being try and be successful,
go ahead.
you know, like because they feel bad about themselves. They were doing that to me. Yeah, and that's what was happening to me. And they were trying to make me feel bad about going and moving. And they're like, well,
that's
you left all your family and this and that. I'm like, I left all my family so I can make them wealthy, bro. And you know what I mean? Like, that's 20 years. Like, oh, that's another thing I asked. I straight up asked. I was like, why do you care so much?
No.
And
why is my happiness tied to your happiness? Like, ask yourself that question. That person, those people need to sit and ask themselves, anytime you run into something that you despise, you know, sans like, you know, like an axe murderer, right? But if you despise something or somebody's success in something, you better look real hard and deep into yourself and figure out why it is that you do. Most likely it's because you hate the fact that they are so comfortable in their skin that they're willing to do what they most love doing uninhibited, and you're jealous that you have not gotten the right emotional masturbation or motivation to actually be yourself. You know what's funny about this? To be authentic seems like you're stepping off a cliff, right? Really does. The moment that you are not going to be what you think anybody else wants you to be, right? That's a huge precipice. But it's literally about 2-inch drop with a fucking pillow underneath it. We don't know it.
100%.
The moment you do,
I agree.
Fuck, that's it.
It's the same situation. It's like when I started my podcast, I was like, why did I not do this sooner? I should have done this way back when. This is not as hard as I thought it would be. Right? Like, I mean, granted, I went to film school, so I already knew how to edit. I already knew how to do sound design. I already knew how to do all this stuff. But like, I had already had all these skills, and I had just never applied them. And I was like, that's it? Like, that's all I got to do? And like, I do everything myself. Like, I do the editing, research, video, subtitle, all that stuff myself. And so like, I was just like, whoa, like once I turned that around, I was like, wow. And then, you know, I started studying like the algorithm and all these things. And like, I'm on a hiatus right now because I've been dealing with some family stuff, but I'm coming back on Monday, a new episode on Monday. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. But yeah, thank you, man. It's been exciting. Oh yeah. First and foremost, before I forget, you know, thank you for having me on and everything. And it's so exciting.
Excited to have you
man.
back.
And you're such a chill dude. And like, you know, this has been it's been a great conversation so far. Like I'm excited for this. And, you know, like, I think
I appreciate
these are the type of conversations I try to have with people when I come on my podcast, you know, like down to earth. Like, you know, there's mental health podcasts that are just like strictly about like scientific, you know, study. Yeah. Yeah.
The serotonin reuptake inhibitors are going to they're going to extract some dopamine from your neurological fucking butthole. And I think nobody cares about that shit. You might as well just be fucking speaking a different language. I could be in like Bulgaria right now because that's how much I give a fuck about what you're saying, because none of those things mean anything to me, because I know you're just giving descriptions of what are the reasons that I'm having problems from not being authentic. Simple as that. Every fucking mental health issue you get is from some kind of inhibition to be authentic within yourself. It's like a fucking teapot, dude, but with like 100 fucking spouts, and it's on boiling, and guess what? It can't sit there and be boiling with that on there. And what pops? One of those fucking things pops up and it starts whistling. Anxiety, depression, fucking overeating, drugs, whatever it is, right? Those whistles start going. But if that thing never had a lid, it'd be fucking fine. Right? And those descriptions of the mental health experience, while I get that they are so needed, they are so great to be, you know, examined and understood so that we can help others in the human experience, because I believe there's a place for it. I think medications and pharmacological fucking studies inside of mental health do have a place, and they're a place for the pause button. They're a place for the pause button to find what's causing you not to be you.
100%.
And the moment you start being you, you don't need the medication anymore, because the medication was to keep you from being you, right? Or was actually to keep you in a place to be able to find you, and the rest was there to keep you from finding you. The societal norms. Once you break that, you start to realize and love yourself. You romanticize the human experience and what it is to see yourself in other people. I've found the more that I speak to people, and I'm sure that you would say the same, there's a moment in a conversation where you realize that that person hears you. They understand it. It's that time where you're going to take it to the next level of conversation. You can see that you've handed them some kind of key. You don't know the lock. You didn't know that that was their lock of the day or whatever it is, and you clicked it, and you didn't give them like fucking discernment. I'm not saying we're fucking spiritually awakening somebody on a podcast, but it could be just that one little thread that unravels the larger, the whole larger thing, right? So I love sitting here and talking about the human experience and mental health.
Oh, you're good.
Not just for the fact
just use the garbage disposal.
It needs to be discussed. I have like some banging going on above me if you hear something right now.
I definitely heard it. It was like making my whole apartment vibrate. These LA apartments are so flimsy, dude.
I didn't hear it. If that's any help.
Yeah. It's so incredible. I tell my friends all the time, like they'll fuck up in it or they'll
editing
say something.
Is amazing.
Like, oh my god,
it is amazing what you can do to audio after the fact.
Knock it right out. All right.
You remember when you used to think that? Like you couldn't fuck it up because you didn't know you could edit it out, or how much it was going to take, or I think it's my generation more because we were subjected to a minimal amount of photography.
I had to experience that.
And if you fucked it up, it was memorialized forever.
High tech in this.
The school photo. I had like the fucking penis helmet haircut.
So, nah, dude, and then on top of that,
you didn't want to get
caught. They don't even let you see the photo after you take it,
you would go down memorialized like in the fucking yearbook, all sorts of shit. You finger up your nose.
And then they make you wait like 3 months, and then you see it. And then one, you don't even have the same haircut.
You put that shit under lock and key.
It looks, you know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly. You went to emo to K-pop, dog, real quick. You know
you went from mullet to surfer cut.
Like, that happened to me one year. One year I was like in my one year, and I had to take photos. So I was like in all black, or I had like black hair, and like no, I never was that extreme. I grew up in a very, very, very conservative.
Did you have your fingernails painted too?
So that was a big like no in my family. Yeah, big no. And so like obviously they're much different now, but at the time of growing up, I wasn't allowed to do that stuff. But no, I always think back to that photo because I remember getting the photos back, and I had branched into kind of my country phase, like a little like pop. So I wasn't even giraffe. Yeah.
Dude, I love this. I did all these things, dude. I had a Caesar at one point, like the Caesar haircut in the front. I had fucking Luke Perry sideburns for a long time. Oh, fucking, I had a chin
I had the bowl cut
I
from
rocked
Dumb
so
and Dumber,
many looks.
bro.
I had a mullet. Mullet went to rat tail. Rat tail went off and it became surfer cut.
I used to...
I call that the mo. The mo is from Three Stooges. It's so old, but the one dude had that fucking the mo haircut. It's the same one that they give all like kids. All like I lived in Japan for 5 years, and I feel like every child under the age of 5 is given that fucking
I love that the
haircut.
difference between our generations, because you could side with the Three Stooges and I could side with Lloyd Christmas.
I was like, man, let their hair grow. Oh, Lloyd Christmas is no, dude. I will take offense to that only because every time I come down the stairs in my house, I walk down like this. As if he's coming down the stairs in the fucking hotel when he's got the tassels on his arms. Like, I do that walk when I come down the stairs. My wife is like, fucking idiot. Every time I come down the stairs, there's somebody in the house. It's like a fucking dad joke or something. I just can't not. Oh my God. Like, I've got, if I had tassels on my arms, they'd be hanging. I'd have a cowboy hat on. Every time I come down, I love Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. I love Jim Carrey.
Well, yeah, that too. And dude, it's like, when I try to explain this to people, this is another like Hollywood stereotype, is people think these parties and like these events are like these like ultra glamorous fancy things, and they are, but they're terrible events. They're not fun to go to at all. Like literally. There are a bunch of screens and plastic cups that are made to look like glass and buffet tins with shit in it. And fucking, like, they have a crew that comes in and throws tablecloths over the shitty tables that were there before, put like one little candle with a fake light in it, and everybody's there wearing their nicest clothes, snapping pictures, but don't do a 360 because you'll get that fucking cafeteria on the other side of the fucking thing. It's so bizarre. Because you're in fucking it's so bizarre, some stupid place that doesn't look like anything that's on that picture. It's so bizarre how we act as humans. Like, we're in a group of people acting like people we aren't. Like, we're not being us. And this is why I don't wear suits anymore. Like, I had to wear suits for work all the time. I was a solution architect. Fucking hated that world, right? I got rid of them all because I'm like, I started looking at things as asshole filters, right? If you don't like me for the way I look, or something about me on my person, or a decision in the way that I've decided to dress, or whatever, you're a fuck. I don't care if I put a tattoo under my right eye. If you don't like me, I tell that to people all the time. Fuck like you. In LA, because you're a human that doesn't like a human for a fucking mark on their face. Like, a lot of my friends from back home, they're like, "Oh, you don't seem as nice as you used to be." And I was like, I mean, I'm still a nice guy, but I definitely can't be a nice guy out here, man. Like, people will take advantage of you. They'll just say weird, snarky shit to you like that. Like, oh, like that's a stupid tattoo, or like, oh, that's a stupid hair. Like, and people, you don't even know these people. They're just like walk up to you and tell you, you know what I mean? Like, that's like, yeah.
Bro, I think I should play a game. I like what you're saying because people do that. They need to knock you down a peg real quick because they feel bad. And yeah, I think you should play a game. Next time somebody comes up to you and says like one of those items, they pick one. That's called like a negative compliment. Like they 100%. Used to talk about that, and like dudes like should, say something bad about a girl and then something nice, so it kind of takes them down a peg or whatever it is. Next time one of them do this, right, and they point out one of your things, sit there and just in your head play a game of what's their bag that's giving them the reason to say this. And you can fucking plug in anything. You could plug in the dumbest shit like you could imagine as the reason they have to point out your tattoo, right? You could just come up with some of the weirdest things and just fucking plug it to them. Give them that and just sit there and laugh at that in your head while they fucking continue with the nonsense that they're saying in front of you. Just be like, spin the wheel of issues and watch them like, your mom didn't hold you, right?
Well, I think the worst part about it too is like,
and you just watch it and you just play it through your head. Okay, you got a problem
like
with my
that's all these Hollywood parties are. Like, are people just like? There's a lot of cool people. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cool people I've met right? Like, there's a lot of cool people, but like, it's crazy to me how disrespectful, how arrogant, how just like entitled a lot of people are out here in LA. And it's like kind of going back to like, oh, like my tragedy is worse than yours type game that a lot of people like to play. When people start playing that game, and I don't say nothing, dude. I don't even bring up my past or nothing. And I've had friends in the rooms be like, dude, like, you could blow all these people away, like, with your shit. I was like, dude, I was like, why does it matter? Like, that's what I said. I was like, I don't think I want to be noticed like the guy who went through the saddest shit.
Who wants to be the best at the worst thing that could have happened?
I was like, I don't need a job because people pity me.
I don't want to be the winner. I don't like this game.
Right.
I don't want to play.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, this is not a high score I want. Like, I don't want that issue. But see, there's an opposite to what we're discussing. There's the ones that will knock you down a peg. And then there's the ones that will come in and do something real weird, right? And we don't notice it. You'll have, say we have a group of people in a room, a group of friends, and then one friend comes in and will announce that they look or feel fat in what they're wearing, knowing they weigh less than the majority of people in the room. They benchmark it. Not only are they giving themselves some kind of attention for being knowingly smaller but feeling that way, they're also letting everybody else in the room know.
I've always thought like that too.
That if they're upset about the way they look, I must be horrendous. Right? Because that's the mark that's being set. Don't knock yourself down a peg because everybody's comparing themselves to everybody else. So if you knock yourself down a peg, you might as well be taking everybody with you. Go the other way. You know, go the opposite direction. Let people follow you that way because they're going to follow you either way. Right? As long as you're being cool. But don't come in and benchmark a room with your fucking insecurities because then you're just setting everybody else up for failure immediately because you put a benchmark on the friendship or the room. Don't set the tone.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, everybody notices it. Everybody notices it when you do it too. Like, people act like nobody notices when they're being a tool or they're being somebody that just isn't a nice person. Everyone acts like nobody notices it, but then as you're like taking it, you see everybody else looking around you at you.
So you're looking at a completely different phenomenon though. And I kind of went through this for a lot of years where I believed that everybody could see what I could see. Right? And that's not necessarily the case because again, we all have a different set of prescription lenses made out of experiences, 20/40, 20/20, whatever they are.
I spent my whole life reading people, so you know what I mean? Like,
and this is why, because you come up in a way that requires you to read every face that comes up to you because they might be the one that tells you you're fucked, not fucked, is he lying, is he telling the truth, is this person padding their sympathy, are they being celebratory when they shouldn't, is this fake, is it not being fake? Same thing is like, is dad gonna hit me, is dad not gonna hit me, is dad in a good mood, is dad... It's the same phenomenon, but they're micro reads, right? And we have words for them. We call them empaths and shit like that because they're born of struggle, right? But here's the thing. Not everybody can see those fractures in other people. And we're not talking about whether or not they're being truthful because that's not what it is. It's whether or not they know they're being truthful or not. Because they'll be spewing off these things and it won't be what they even believe. It becomes such a character that they're spitting it out. You'd see people get hired, you know, and for me, coming from a struggled background, it was really odd for me to see like somebody get hired. Like, and I would walk into the room and look at him for the first time, like, dude, that guy's might as well be twisting an imaginary mustache. Who the fuck hired him? He looks like a villain. Like, I can smell all the deceit on him. Like, this is a whole character that we're looking at. Why didn't anybody else see it? Because they don't come from the same background. They don't know what people are using as masks in moments, right? you're going to be gifted. You're going to see that. But the problem is we can't hold everybody else to the same standard of perception, right? I had to learn this because I was like, for a long time, I just didn't fucking understand. I'm like, why the
I'm slowly starting to learn it. Starting to learn it, for sure.
I think the goal is when you do have this understanding, you just take that moment to pass out fucking flyers to happiness, right? If you're searching for happiness, go look for one of happiness's flyers that are laying out there, pinned to everything, because you don't force it on somebody. You don't say, you're not like a fucking, a club, a girl outside a club in fucking New York or LA wearing like a big jacket holding flyers trying to push you in the front door for money, right? Don't be that. Be the one that puts a stack of them next to something you think that's cool and let somebody take it if they want it. But make sure you make your flyers, right? Make your flyers, put 100%. Them out there, because you never know who's going to pick up that one. Who's going to be in that moment, and they're going to pick it up. Again, you can't Westboro your fucking thoughts down somebody's throat, but you can show people how you've found happiness. I think the search for happiness is inside. And I think that...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right. And I know you know that. And I think that you've... taken your experience and put a lot of care into sharing the lenses that you have for life. Because let's face it, you're up against a clock when you're in these situations constantly. Other people 100%. Don't have it. If you have like a debilitating...
I tell people that all the time.
Like if you have epilepsy of a certain level or something like that, you're walking right around with that in your mind. But here's the thing. Your experience shouldn't be any different than mine, because I don't know if there's something after this either, right? I don't know. All I know is that I have an autonomic system that fucking gives me the next breath. That's it. My life does not go beyond that, right? So why the fuck do I care about next month? Next month is not in existence. It's not here. So once you get rid of the future, you start to fucking get rid of anxiety and worry, and you start looking at what the fuck is around you. Shit gets greener. Shit gets happier. Shit gets fucking so much fun, because you're not thinking about what's gonna happen or what happened. You can't sit and fucking wallow in surgeries. What the fuck? You lose your G89.
I tell people all the time. I was just having this conversation. I went to a party last night, and it was actually a podcast, like, promotion party.
Oh, cool.
For another buddy of mine. Yeah. And I was talking to a guy there, and, he was just kind of explaining, like, you can't just let these things pass you up, man. Like, especially when you come from backgrounds like us, like, for me, for instance, my whole life, like, I just waited for a situation to arise so I could get out, you know what I mean? And so, like, and then they're like, oh, you don't really need that much surgery anymore. I'm like,
love, peace, and chicken grease. I'm out of here.
Right. Exactly.
Deuces.
Exactly. And so in looking for, like, people, I was explaining this to somebody last night, that no matter what you do, no matter how badly you want to do something, like, you just gotta do it, man. You just gotta do it. And if you don't do it, you're gonna sit there for the rest of your life and be like, why didn't I even at least try?
There is somebody out there that impulsively stood up on a table and started to sing one day, and they're out there somewhere living their life. And it all started with the fact that they went on intuition. This is a fucking moment. Let me just jump up here and fucking do what I feel like doing right now with everybody here. And guess what's going to happen? That's the moment. That's the one that changes it. That's the one that springs you forward into what you're talking about. That fucking fun path.
When it feels scariest to jump, that's when you should jump.
And I told you, man, if it had a sound effect after that jump, you'd be like...
exactly.
Like, jump off of it like somebody squeezed a duck. That's the whole fucking thing. Like, it's so anticlimactic.
I love it.
You're up there, blindfold on. I'm gonna do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be myself. That's it. Oh,
it's true though. It's true though. Like, as long as you just get over the fear of something, you just do it. Like, it literally, that's how it feels. You're just like, that's it.
It's got to be the easiest thing in the fucking world to do, because here's what people don't tell you.
That's what keeps me going.
Personalities are lies. Think about that. The way that someone acts is actually a lie. It is a false truth. It is something that is not real. If you go home and talk to your wife different than you talk to the clerk at fucking whatever grocery store, one of them's not real. Or possibly both if you don't fucking care about your wife. One of those two people is a fucking character. Right? And ask yourself, why was the character ever required? And then ask yourself how many fucking characters you've got. And then ask yourself, where are they when you're not being them? Right? And you might find them all hanging over your shoulder in mass in a sack that stinks like fucking shit. Right? And the reality is, you're carrying your own bag of shit, walking around with it, going, why does it stink? You're carrying a bag of shit. Let it go.
Yeah.
Those are personalities. Those are memories of who you were when you talked to somebody. If you have to remember how you left off the last time you were with someone before you meet them again, you're recollecting your mask. You're trying to level set who you are the last time you were when you met them. Where are we within our fucking societal structure? All these things. But the moment you can walk in to your fucking friends and be like, yo, pull my finger. Like, as soon as you walk in the door, that's a different relationship. Be you, dude. If you can be you, 100%. That's it.
I completely agree, man. I completely agree. And it's I don't know why society has such an issue with it too. I don't get that concept of like
fear.
Fear, yes, but it's just like there's just no need for it, man. Because like one thing I have learned the most, I think, since being in LA, is that there is cake for everybody. You know what I mean? There's room for everybody to do whatever they want. Like, if I wanted to right now, like, I could quit acting and go into real estate or go into music or go into all these things because I have all these connections here in LA like that. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. So you're actually describing the fragility of the human experience and the capability to do anything and everything you want at any given time, because it's really just based upon action. You can pick all the roles that you could as an actor in real life. Yep. I've done so many different jobs and so many different career paths. They're just fucking roles. I just learn what that role takes, do it for a while, and then realize it didn't make me happy, and all I've been doing is choosing roles, when in reality, I should have just been me, right? The whole time.
I tell people, even as an actor, like, going forward, like, I tell them, like, the art of acting is literally just being yourself and putting yourself in that character's shoes. And like, I don't know why that's such a wild concept for a lot of people to understand, but like, I just meet a lot of actors that don't even understand that concept. It's like, what would you do in that situation, right? Okay, and then elaborate what the character would do in that situation, and then you have to infuse those two, because you can't obviously be this character 100%. Like, there's method acting, yeah, but like, that shit can be dangerous too. Like, I'm definitely not a method actor. So
Heath Ledger might tell you different.
Yeah, so but I'm saying that's what it gets dangerous. It can get dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
That's why I'm like, that it can be very dangerous.
That should tell you how fractured the human experience is. If you can take a role over a short period of time and create a whole new personality and feeling about reality, then that should tell you that even the one that you've chosen is just as fucking easy to change as the one that you're acting right now. There's a lot of actors out there that have come to conclusions after playing many roles that they then have that look back on the fractured lens that is the masks that everybody wears. I think that's what Jim Carrey did. I believe that he
yes,
sees that
100%.
fracture in society or in our egos.
He thinks Hollywood's spineless, which he isn't wrong.
No,
I
the
saw an
world's
interview of him,
spineless.
and he was like, but he was explaining what made him decide he wanted to retire. I watched an interview of this, was the Chris Rock and Will Smith slap. That's what made him want to retire.
I think I did hear this.
He was like, because he's like, when I saw how spineless this entire industry was, he was like, I was done. He's like, I felt so disgusted and I mean, I don't blame him. I felt the same way. I was like, sitting there as a young filmmaker, I was like,
here's the thing. We're all one decision, one impulse away from the penitentiary. We don't discuss that we all have intrusive thoughts. It's just a matter of who's the one that grabbed it. Intrusive thoughts as a whole are not yours. Thoughts are there for you to take. They are out there roaming around in your head, and you create your realities from the one you choose. Right? Reach out and you grab it.
100%.
That's your reality now until you let it go.
Yeah, it's really crazy how the world has just turned, and I understand. I get it, because a lot of people just want to make it and they want to make a name for themselves. But I think a lot of people forget that, yeah, it's great if you make it to the top. Awesome. But if you burned every bridge, you screwed over every person to get there, you're going to be there alone, buddy.
But it's not the top.
And that's my thing. I keep telling my buddy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I keep telling, I have so many people since I left film school that were like my friends, right? And I remember I went and directed a short film a few months ago, and you know, I had done hundreds of favors for all these people on my set, and majority of them, you know, pulled through. Like I'd say 98% of them pulled through, you know, which I'm so grateful for.
Those are people you'll work with again.
But yeah, 100%. But the two most important people didn't show up on the last day, which was the gaffer, which is the guy with the whole lighting, all the lighting. Yeah. And then the sound guy.
Whoops.
Like my two most. Yeah. And it was, yeah.
Were you filming like Blair Witch Project?
No.
That's what I mean. Like you're missing everything. It's just like some fucking running through the woods with a camera stick.
I know. And it was, we had shot for 3 days already. And then on this last day, this is how spineless Hollywood can be. It's like, I wasn't paying as much. So he, like the gaffer and the sound people literally found better jobs for better pay that day. And just like, they called me at like 12 in the morning that day, and we're like, hey, I'm not going to make it. I had paid gig. I'm like, well, this is a paid gig. They're like, well, this one pays more. I'm like, okay.
That's fucked up. Like, that's an cool. Integrity issue there.
But that's what I'm saying is nobody, it seems, I mean, not nobody. I mean, there's a lot of cool people I know out here that I love and I really enjoy working with, but a lot of people out here have zero integrity anymore. They have zero self-awareness. Like, that's my big thing. I really realized, especially the last 3 months.
Are they going to change
out here, going to parties? No, that's the thing. That's the crazy thing is, you know, it's never going to change. So it's like,
just watch them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
treat them like fucking like you're at the zoo. Like that's the rare narcissistic rhinoceros, and I'm just gonna watch it in its natural environment. That's a Karen in this, but just let it fucking look at it like it's through glass. Right? And if they try to cross your reality, step to the left and just let them fucking roll right on by. Because you can't change them. That's like trying to fucking convince a zombie to buy a microwave. Like, what the fuck are you standing there doing that for?
I just want to say, I just want to say I love every analogy you've given this entire episode.
Could you imagine selling a microwave to a fucking zombie?
Yo, I heard one. You probably shouldn't put this one in the episode because it's a little fucking dark. But someone told me an analogy last night because I was talking about like writing a script, and I was like, oh, I've been working on it for like 3 years, but this person wants to lowball me for money, and this dude was like, he's like, okay, well, view this as your child. I was like, okay. He's like, would you let someone fuck your 3-year-old?
Whoa!
I was like,
whoa!
Yeah, I was like, no, I wouldn't. But that's an amazing way to put it.
Holy shit, Anthony Jeselnik, is this who you were talking to right then? You were having a conversation with that comedian, dude. Do you know who he is?
I know who that is.
Yeah, it's like that sounds like some shit he'd say.
Someone said that, and it was like I'm not gonna say what company it was for and stuff, but like it was like the CEO of like a really big talent agency, and he was like, he's like, that's what I tell my close friends in private, so they don't sell their movies for low prices. And I was like,
does it require?
I will never forget. I know, but it, dude, it sets
that's a hell of
you in
a
there,
benchmark.
dude. You're like, that's what I'm saying though. It's such a benchmark. You never forget it. You're just like, yeah, I'm never letting anyone buy my movie.
if there was like a compadre in this fucking fight, like if you had somebody else in this situation, there's another dude standing next to you in front of the stripper pole with gloves on, trying to keep anybody's daughter off of it. You're trying to protect your script. This guy's over here knuckling up for the pole. The other one's outside of a fucking shooting an apartment. No, not my kid. I love this scenario. Dude, we're going to fucking talk forever. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. I definitely think you're going to be back. I genuinely appreciate you.
I really want you guys. On my episodes too.
Absolutely, we'll definitely come on. I love talking about all kinds of stuff, especially about the human experience and the human condition. It is a condition. We suffer as a species. Just look around. Animals avoid us. We don't avoid animals. Right? One of these things is not like the other. Pay attention to what we're doing. You, my friend, you've done things that people could really learn from. And that's not that you've gone through struggles, right? Struggles are struggles, and I get that. I'm not going to discount you've went through some horrifying ones, but they can learn from you by embracing the human experience and being yourself and giving everything to what you love, right? Because that shows that you're taking advantage of the one thing that we know is in existence, and that is now, right? And aptly called, I say it a lot, the present. It's a gift. You have to treat it that way. Open it every morning. I heard a analogy the other day, or a question, like, if I gave you $10 million, would you quit your job? Well, yeah, I'd quit my job, whatever. If I gave you $10 million, but you'd have to die tomorrow, would you take the money? Or something like that. But if I gave you $10 million, you wouldn't take it if it meant you died tomorrow. But why isn't tomorrow worth $10 million or more? Right?
Because you want the human experience.
Right. So fuck that. Enjoy this. And I appreciate you. Thank 100%. You for being open and
thank you.
Allowing people a place to find solace in the fact that they're not alone. And if you ever need anything from the show, you let us know. You want to tell everybody where they can find you and what they can expect to find?
Yeah, 100%. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on, dude. This was such a great conversation. I can't wait to be back on. I definitely want you to be on my Searching for Happiness podcast as well. I definitely look forward to meeting the other guys as well. Sounds like you got a team there. So, but yeah, you can find me on Spotify, Apple, Audible, Amazon, kind of any streaming service, Searching for Happiness podcast is a mental health podcast where I take pretty much everyday artists or everyday people and I talk to them about their struggles and what they did to overcome them. And we also talk about our careers and just life in general. But you can catch me on Spotify. And I'm on YouTube now too as well. We do video format now. You can catch me on Instagram, TikTok.
Love it. You do great work.
Medias for the reels.
Your editing is fantastic.
Thank you so much, man.
I noticed that as soon as I went in there and took a look. I appreciate that,
I watched some of your guys' clips too. Yeah, you guys are doing good. You guys are great.
I appreciate that.
I love you. I was like, especially the multi-camera thing. That's the one thing I'm still working on because I got like my own, I pay for everything myself and stuff like that. So I'm still working on the multi-cam, but so I love, you guys have multiple camera angles. Like, it looks real professional. It looks clean.
I appreciate that, man. I put a lot of work into this because nobody's going to listen to our message if it's like shit.
Exactly.
People don't like shitty audio.
I don't know. 100%. I don't know if you can even see this behind me. Let me turn it up. But it's like I had to put in this wall back here because it's just like you need something to look at. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like I had to,
dude.
Yeah, I had to.
I love it.
You can see like see, it's all plastered up on my wall. Yep. But yeah,
it's all about the appearance.
It's all about the appearance, and it's all about, just making people feel like
respect
they want.
Your message enough to clean it up and make it presentable, then why the fuck am I going to listen to it?
Exactly. That's why I tell people all the time, like, they put out like really poor quality things. I'm like, you guys, like it's not blowing up. I'm like, it's not gonna ever blow up, dude. Like, you don't. It seems
you
like
might as well be fucking doing like a tap dance in front of 7-Eleven. It's got the same fucking capability of fucking drawing a crowd, asshole. Put it on a stage, turn on some lights, fucking give people a reason to want to watch it. Don't fucking sit out there dancing around the lottery tickets. Fucking let's go. All right, man. We'll end up going forever.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, brother. Remember, everybody, be cool
thank you so
and keep
much.
learning. Thank you, brother.